Good evening, good afternoon, good night, good morning, wherever you may be viewing from. Welcome to the Blindspot podcast. All right, this is presented by Definitive Safety Group. My name is Jonathan Davis. I am the CEO of Definitive Safety Group, and today's show we have a great guest, a esteemed guest. Happy to actually be her bigger brother. So I want to bring on our guests here in a second, but I just want to touch on some of the things happening with the business. If you guys check out our website, definitivesafetygroup.com, every week we update with some blogs, some informative blogs for everybody. So you could look under the tab Definitive Insights, okay, and check out some of the blogs that we post weekly. All right. We also still do our in-person classes here in Antioch. So if you go to Antioch Community Center, you can check out some of the classes that we have. We're in the brochure. If you want to sign up, you could sign up directly on our website, or you can go in person to the Antioch Community Center and sign up there. Okay. Uh, some big things happening this year, so we want to make sure that we include the community and everybody. So go ahead and sign up and get educated for some of those job certificates that you guys need. Okay. Um, our guest on the Blind Spot podcast, this is episode 11, is none other than Kiara Davis. All right, she's coming out of Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised in Houston, Texas, and glad to have you on, sis.
Yes,
Thanks for
glad to be here.
blessing us on the podcast, and we just want to jump right in it. So you are CEO of Simone Speaks. Okay,
Yes,
can you share your personal journey and just let us know, what Simone Speaks is, how you founded Simone Speaks, and the role of mental health. Why is it directing you into that entrepreneurial path?
so I started Simone Speaks due to this was a little bit before COVID, and I was doing outreach in the community, and I realized that a lot of homeless people battle with mental health problems, and it stems from childhood experience. It can be anything from grief, or a drug addiction, and it kind of related to what I went through as a child. Even though I've never been homeless before, I have experienced trauma and sexual abuse, and that related to my childhood, and I kind of related to those individuals. So I thought of a way to just be open, and how can I be encouraging to others to also let them know that what they go through does not have to be their end all be all, and they don't have to
Mhm.
be in a place where they are constantly trying to fend for themselves. So how can I uplift people? And that
Mhm.
was the whole point of Simone Speaks.
Yeah, that's great. It's a big epidemic with homelessness all over the United States, especially
Mhm.
out here in California. We understand. So, with that being said, it's a lot of pressure and stress. Being an entrepreneur. Running a business, even if you're not running a business, just day to day life. How do you prioritize, or how would you tell someone to prioritize mental health and well being? While managing the demands of a business, or running a household, such as running a family. How would you tell someone to give somebody advice on that?
I would just tell someone just to balance, because I know for me, for even my full time job, I work as a case manager in downtown Atlanta with HIV and AIDS clients, basically fending for their housing. So that can be a lot. I mean, sometimes I don't even listen to music on the way home. So sometimes that looks like me taking off and just prioritizing like my mental health and my self care, um, and being diligent and still allowing myself to like give myself space,
Mm-hmm.
to when I deal with certain cases, because it can be a lot on a daily basis. But even for me building my business, I still want to implement that same kind of nature, the same culture of, taking space and taking time to myself, so I won't, feel burnout, or I won't feel overwhelmed,
Hmm.
especially working in mental health.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, going into our next question, it said, Simone speaks. You guys aim to promote mental health awareness. How do you see the intersection between fostering a supportive work environment and achieving, success in your business or in your day to day activities?
I know, for just example, for my job, because I'm still building my business.
Hmm.
So, I can't speak from that aspect because I'm rebranding it. But
Oh
even
yeah.
just um speaking about the environment and just being honest about
Hmm.
what works and what doesn't work. And also not being afraid to start over if something isn't working, or if something you don't like the color or something, or you want a different logo, whatever
Hmm.
it may be. Don't be afraid to just have a fresh start, regardless of what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's one of the main things of entrepreneur. Just don't stop. If you got to change something up, change it up, but just keep going,
Right, right.
So, many entrepreneurs experience, burnout, just like you were just kind of touching on, due to long
Mhm.
work hours, constant decision making. Um, what strategies would you tell somebody to implement, to prevent burnout, or to maintain their mental, their mental resilience when they're trying to maneuver through entrepreneur or just life in general?
For burnout is basically detachment. I look at burnout as you're enjoying your passion, but it's becoming a lot. It's becoming stressful. So you don't ever want to get to a place where you want to stop doing something you love because you don't know how to properly set boundaries with that business or your job, for example.
Hmm.
And I think it's imperative for me to not only detach, but also make sure that I'm spending time with the people that I love the most. So it's like refueling myself, having outings with my friends, or doing something that is self care for me. Um, and also just not taking the issues home with me, because sometimes I can have a client in mental health that is having a crisis, and I'm trying to help them through that, and it can be a lot on me.
Hmm.
And because I have a big heart for mental health, so I want to figure out every avenue. But mental health is also allowing that person to make those steps on their own. So just setting boundaries with myself and not doing too much, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, gotta have boundaries up in place,
Mhm.
Um, mental health, especially in our community, in the Black community, although it's now, over time, I say the last 3 to 4 years, it's just become more and more, people have been more aware of it. But we all know, in our community, it's a big stigma with mental health.
Mhm.
um, how do you, as a mental health advocate, try to break down some of those walls for individuals that may be in denial about mental health, or may not even be aware of their mental health issues? How do you you break through that, those barriers that they're probably putting up?
I think um for mental health and in the stigmas, it's like a fear base. I think it's easier for people to kind of go with what they know, and what they know may be ignoring something that they need to address. So sometimes stigmas look like fear. That things that don't want to come to surfaces. We see that all the time, especially I can relate as far as in my nonprofit. I used to have meetings with the Atlanta Police Department about the stigmas of not treating someone as, okay, they're having a mental health episode, or are they a threat, knowing the difference.
Mm-hmm.
between, and and so people aren't ready to address the stigmas of, they weren't ready to address that. They weren't ready to have those mental health trainings at the time. And I'm hoping that, that was a few years ago, that they have put their best foot forward to address the mental health in the community. But the stigmas are just fear based. It's just, let's go with what we know. And if they're a threat, they're a threat, not addressing that. They may have schizophrenia, or they may have bipolar episodes that may cause them to act violent, but it's not intentionally meant. You know,
Mm-hmm.
instead of targeting those individuals, let's actually target the ones that are provoking violence on our community.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of some people that are diagnosed and that have medications that they're currently taking to kind of prevent all of these mental health issues that they are currently dealing with, right? Because it's trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
comes up for them. So if somebody's pointing a gun in their face, and telling them, hey, back down, it's like it triggers them, So just
Mm-hmm.
as a community, and as for the police department, even when I used to have those meetings with them, it was just like, hey, this is a real thing. These can happen in your own family or your own friend group. So
Yeah. Yeah.
being
And
honest about it.
it's that trickle down effect. What causes that trauma in the first place? What causes those environments in the first place? Where they grow up in. So yeah, I
Right.
definitely understand. I understand that for
Yeah.
sure.
The
Um,
lack of education, really.
oh,
It's the lack of
so
education.
it's a lack of resources all around. So
Hmm.
that's a whole nother political conversation. But um,
Exactly.
keeping it rolling, the journey of life, or even if you put it in perspective of entrepreneurship, is filled with ups and downs. Can you share maybe a specific instance where you faced adversity and how you managed to overcome it, while you were safeguarding your own mental health, or maybe someone in your staff or something like that?
For me, for sure, is balance. Like I said, I kind of started Simone Speaks before COVID, and of course, after COVID, our mother passed, so it kind of paused, because at the time I needed to heal, right? It's
Hmm.
like, how can I successfully do something or be active in something and I'm in pain? And so
Yeah.
balance looked like um stepping away from my jobs at the time, and just taking time to really decide what did I want my business to look like. And unfortunately, grief is something that has been a part of my life for some years now.
Yeah.
So do I want to target that? Kind of figure out, while I'm rebranding now, what do I want the face of my brand to be? What do I want it to look like, as far as my own experience, my own
Hmm.
healing, and my own trauma? Like I said, that even though we lost our mother, that kind of triggered my father's death as well.
Hmm.
Experiencing that all over again, and so just being able to balance my emotions, so I
Hmm.
can, for one, do my business, but also, I have two jobs as well. So how can I successfully do these jobs and take care of me? Um
Hmm.
in whatever aspect that looks like, if that looks like, just um taking off and just being at home in my bed or doing whatever I may love.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said rebuilding the brand, that kind of rolls right into the next question too. Building your brand often requires constant effort and patience. You kind of touched on that on the last question. How do you balance that drive? The drive of success. Of course, you want your business to succeed, but you also, like you said, want to make it out of the storms and the grief that we both endured over the last couple of years. So
Hmm.
how do you press? How do you move forward?
Just not being afraid to start over, being bold about what I desire and what that looks like, and taking my time. Because last time
Yeah.
I did kind of rush and start things, and felt that it was a need to just forcefully be away, and I didn't think it through. But now
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking through what I want it to look like, what I want my website to look like,
There you go.
what the community that I want
Hmm.
to service, what that looks like, the ages of the people I want to service, and being open to public speaking events as well.
Yeah.
But just not being afraid to just start over and
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
different and be bold about what I want.
And just off topic, it's Simone Speaks. It's a nonprofit, right? Or
No, it's an LLC actually.
it's a LLC.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. No, that's good.
Yes,
That's good.
yes.
I
So I
feel
have
like.
a friend that works in a nonprofit, and it's for Refreshing Life Ministry. So our plan is to kind of combine and do things, with my LLC and also with her nonprofit.
No, no, that's great.
Mhm.
That's great. I feel like our community, we kind of tend to go the nonprofit route, but you know, if you're building a business, that's also things that you can, give out to the community and pass out to communities. A lot of helpful things when you're running your own LLC. Nonprofits are great, but also, you want to make sure you're doing have your business running as well.
And
Um,
realistically, just I want to be a consultant. So that
mhm.
looks like, when I do get licensed, if somebody wants to have some therapy sessions, whatever that may look like, and that requires the LLC. I can't do that under a
Yeah,
nonprofit, unfortunately.
yeah, but you could work with a lot of nonprofits though.
I can partner
Mhm.
with them.
Yeah. Okay. So our next question: entrepreneurs can sometimes feel, isolated due to their unique roles. How do you create and sustain a sense of community and connection among yourself, your team, and other entrepreneurs?
So being that it's just I am the team right now, I'm speaking from like my current role as the case manager. And
Hmm.
in my current role, we just try to collaborate through whatever may not be working. So we kind of assess and we pull reports and we do our reports and what doesn't work right now, and what can challenge us in the future as well. So I want to implement that same kind of nature when it comes to my own business. I want to be able to for my team to be honest, right, about what's not working, what can be challenged in the community, and also us being educated on what's happening in the community as well. I read a lot of articles about mental health, and I want to
Hmm.
continue to do that in the same aspect of my
Yeah.
own business. I plan to um, just improve it and as it grows. But I guess it's just an ongoing thing. May I ask how you do that? Kind of
No, no,
okay.
you answered great. And then, you
I was
know,
gonna ask, do you have any suggestions on that?
oh, as far as as
Like your
far
current role in sustaining in the community and like working with the collaborating with different entrepreneurs.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically just try to be as social. The one way that I do it is of course the podcast. The podcast, just try to be social and try to push as many black businesses as we possibly can. I think social media, if you use it the right way, can be positive impact on your business. And like we spoke about earlier, try to collaborate with different uh fixtures in the community, churches, nonprofits, things like that. Just to also help the community, but also from a business aspect, it helps you build your brand. It helps people see, your brand out there and helping out. So it's always a two-way street with when you're doing, some of these business things, and you just try to keep it social, come out of your shell a little bit as well. Uh, like
That's
the event that you did, I think it was in June or July uh,
mhm,
in Atlanta. Those are some of the things you might want to get out there and do.
right.
So yeah. And then the next question now, mental health initiatives in the workplace can positively impact productivity and overall well-being. what steps have you taken to integrate mental health practices in your company culture, or or in your everyday life?
Like I said, I have not. Um, for my plan for Simone Speaks is to
Hmm.
have trainings on mental health for my team and what that looks like, because that's something we do at my current job, and I really like that. I really like how it's kind of like a refresher on
Hmm.
what we need to do and how we need to do it, because sometimes in mental health it's a structure to things, and when the state comes to audit, it's like they want to see things that are in order and make sure all the notes are good and all of that. And I want to continue that same culture in my business as well. Whatever trainings that needs to happen, or if you feel like you're becoming overwhelmed, like don't hesitate to say, okay, I need to use my PTO. I just
Yeah.
need a day to breathe. I need to step away and detach from this job for a moment, because it can be a lot. Um, and so yeah, just to prevent burnout, because burnout is a real thing. I have even thought about it myself, like what else can I do other than mental health
Hmm.
to just step away and do something different. But that
Yeah.
means that if I'm thinking about it, I'm not setting proper boundaries. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and then just to touch on that too, like if you're running a business and you do have a team, you know, retreats, different trips,
mhm.
take your team if their team is excelling and performing, don't hesitate to, maybe give them a bonus by taking them on a retreat or on a company vacation or trip or something like that,
That is
because
so good, because my boss did that recently, and I told
yeah.
my CEO actually did that. He bought tickets for us to have drinks, and he
Hmm.
bought food, and we went to a restaurant, and everything was on him. And so I told him
Yeah.
that was just a great way to stop work. We did that in the middle of the workday, and I was like, this was amazing, just to like kind of have fun, step away from
Hmm.
just the business standpoint of it. It was
Yeah,
good.
it helps boost morale too. You know.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
For
So,
sure.
the next question here, uh, as a leader, your actions influence your team and the community's attitudes towards mental health. All right. How do you encourage open conversations about mental well-being and make sure that your team or the community seems supported?
Um, just being honest about what is needed in the community.
Hmm.
As far as mental health, um as far as like collaborating with other businesses that may offer something that I may not. But so also just being honest about how we feel as a team, and how often we can do our job to our fullest, and just like I said, just being honest about how you're feeling, and kind of dwelling into what that looks like in the community as well.
Yeah.
How is the community affecting like our role in the
Hmm.
community, because it's
Hmm.
so much. For example, we were doing our job and we were out in the community, and we randomly, this is about a month or two ago, we had a shooter in the area where he actually was killing people. So it caused us to kind of cut off services for those people that might have actually needed, because we had to go on shutdown. So
Hmm.
realizing like what we need, and I really congratulated my company for that, because he really shut things down and protected us, instead of pushing forth the need of the clients as well, making sure that we were taken care of. And I kind of want to mirror that in my business moving forward too. I want to keep that same morale, because it's transparent, and people like transparency when it
Yeah.
comes to how how the company addresses that. And so I want to
Yeah.
keep it.
Yeah, because you got to protect you guys from trauma too. Even though you're treating people with their present trauma, you also got to protect yourselves from it as well.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
how can
No.
people get in touch with you? You got social media, website, anything like that. What's coming
My
next for?
website is coming. I have a website. A friend of mine is her name is Jasmine the Creative. You can look her up on Instagram, but she is building my website and it looks great so far. So my website will be www.simonespeaks.com, and then my Instagram is Simone Speaks with a Z, and that is also my Facebook handle as well. So
Okay.
for right now, it's just building that site, and for upcoming, I will do more Instagram lives and push more
Mhm.
content on that end. But this has got me thinking I might want to invite more people onto my platform as well
Yeah,
as
yeah,
I did
yeah.
before.
Most definitely, and we will be reposting those lives and anything you put out, we will be reposting. And so just check us out. This concludes our conversation. I appreciate you coming on as
Thank
always.
you.
You know,
Thank you so much, bro.
yeah, always, always. Thank you. It was a great conversation. I hope people learn from this. I hope people take, the tidbits that the gems that you drop on mental health and apply that to their everyday life, their business, their jobs, and also, if you're viewing this, go ahead, share, like,
Yes.
repost, tell your friends, tell your grandma, everybody about the podcast, because we're going to be having more guests. We already got guests lined up for next month. So stay tuned. The Blind Spot podcast is signing off. Thanks again, Key.
You're welcome.